Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on my video and for visiting my YouTube channel. Before we get started with the topic of the video, I'd like to express my sincerest apologies if you hear any other sound in the background other than my beautiful voice, simply because I'm not in control of what's happening, and so I'll try to cut out as much of it as I can, like cars and stuff, but if you do hear it, I do apologize. That being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the topic. So without further ado, let us begin. Introduction. This video will be the start of a series that will dive into ancient Roman families, or Gentes, and trace their family tree from their founder to when they died out. For now, we will focus on the great Patrician families from the Republican era. As there are about 20 or so, that will be a good place to start. In this video, we will be looking at the Gens Salii and their historical origins and family tree. However, as we shall soon see, the Gens Salii aren't a real family, and although I haven't been able to find sources that have names, they nonetheless have an interesting story to tell. One more thing I should make note of is that I will be pronouncing the names as they are supposed to be pronounced in the classical Latin form. For example, V's are a W sound like wine, and J's are E sounding. So for example, Numa Pompilius be Numa Pompilius. But I just want to clarify that I will be trying to pronounce it as correctly as I can in the classical Latin form. So just to let you know. Family origins. Let's begin with the origin of the family. Earliest surviving records that I know of indicate that the family got its start with the second king of Rome, Numa Pompilius, who reigned from 715 to about 672 BC, after the kingship of Romulus. The earliest accessible ancient records come to us from Livy, Plutarch, and Ovid, or Livy, Plutarch, and Ovid. Other authors have written about them at different times, but for now let us focus on these three authors, with particular emphasis on Ovid's account. First up, we have Livy, talking about the reign of Numa Pompilius, second king of Rome, and how he establishes priests for major gods as to not neglect his priestly role. For our purposes in particular, Numa, quote, he likewise chose 12 Salii for Mars Gradivus, and granted them the distinction of wearing the embroidered tunic, and over it a bronze breastplate, and of bearing the divine shields, which men called Ankylia, while they proceeded through the city, chanting their hymns to the triple beat of their solemn dance. End quote. Thus we have the beginning of the Gens Salii, or rather the Salii priests. Next we have Plutarch, going in depth about the origin story as to the founding of the Salii. To paraphrase, it goes as follows, quote, there was a pestilence traversing Italy and hitting Rome. Numa Pompilius received a bronze buckler from heaven for the salvation of the city, and in order to safeguard it, it was to have 11 others made in its exact image to prevent theft. The place where the shield fell was to be consecrated. Numa tried to have artificers create the 11, but all refused except one, Veturius Mamurius. Being a skilled craftsman, he made 11 exact copies, fooling Numa himself. Numa then established the Salii as priests with the task of guarding the 12 shields. End quote. The name Salii, Plutarch writes, is derived from leaping and nothing else. They performed dances as part of a ceremony in March with festive gear and the shields, or Ankylia. Veturius Mamurius, in return for his labor, asks to be memorialized in a song sung during the dancing. But some do not believe Veturius Mamurius to be real, Plutarch writes. Fascinating story, but Plutarch goes into more depth, so check it out for yourselves. Finally, we get to Ovid, or Ovidus Naso, and his work, which is in the original Latin, so allow me to do my best to translate it. The first mention of the Salii is as follows, quote, Quis mihi nunc dicet quare cae lestia martis, arma ferant Salii mamurimque canant, nympha mone nemori stagnoque operata Dianae, nympha numae coniunx ad tua facta veni, end quote, which translates to something like, who shall now say to me, Salii mamurius, make music, for which reason they were bearing arms of Mars' heaven. Nymph, advise thou to cover and labor the grove of Diana. Nymph, wife of Numa, come thou to your deeds. The other mention is quite long, and please forgive the pronunciation. Quote, Mamurius, morum fabraine exactior artis, difficile est uli dicere, clausit opus, cui numa munificus facti praemia dixit, si mea nota fides in rita nulla petas, iam deterat Salis assaltu nomina dicta, armaque et ad ceteros verba canenda modos, tum sic mamurius merces mihi gloria detur, nominaque extremo carmine nostra sonent. Inde sacerdotes operi promissa vetusto praemia persolvunt mamurimque vocant. Nubere siqua voles quamuis properabitis ambo, differ habent parvae commoda magna morae, arma movent pugna est aliena maritis, condita cum fuerint apitius omen erit, his etiam coniunx appicati sancta dialis, lucibus impeccas debet habere comas, end quote. This poorly translates to Mamurius had a practical skill to drive out crafts from mulberry. It is a difficult thing for anyone to say, and he shutted up the labor. Whose duty? To seek the privilege to make, Numa said. If I get a cord of recognition, I won't seek no, and then whatever in Rita translates to. Now, he handed over to the Salis to leap, the name is said, and arms, and to certain words to be sung a measure. At that time thus Mamurius, the price to hand over to me is glory, and my name to sing at last our song. And thereupon priests to cover a promise for an age-old privilege to be unraveled, and calls Mamurius to marry if any whither will, you all shall hasten both as you will to separate. Great delays to have a small convenience. Arms to move contests is to make strange matrimony. They may put together, it will bound the omen. This also spouses Flamin's cap of holy Jupiter. Light uncombed owes to have hair. Poorly translated and very much not even informative, but we can make out bits and pieces of an interesting history regarding the festive or religious origins of the Salii. Not so much the human ancestry or genealogy to match it. So, where does that leave us? Conclusion. Although containing no actual family tree or any family members to speak of, the Gens Salii are still a fascinating part of the Roman world. To give more context, the Salii were either priests of Mars, Palatini, or Quirinus, Collini, depending on who you asked in Rome. The Palatini and Collini are two of the 7 hills in Rome, and both of them have a fascinating history. What we do know is that they were chosen from patrician families, patrician families, were often young and held no offices, except for a couple exceptions. And they both had to have both parents be alive. They also participated in a special ceremony and were among the most ancient of the priesthoods. So overall, a pretty nifty job, career, occupation to hold. And that is so far all I was able to dig up on the Gens Salii. Again, I thought they were a family with a family tree with like distinct ancestors, like, with names, but I couldn't find a whole lot of information on it. So that concludes this video, and now let's get into the finale. I said finale, let's sign off. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with anyone who you think would be interested in Roman history. It's not a whole lot of professional Ibid typing. I mean, my translation of the second part of the Latin was pretty bad. That's because I was kind of done with it. I mean, it still roughly translates to that, but yeah, not the not the most professional of things. But nonetheless, I wanted to do this. I want this to be part of a series where I can just talk about the families of the ancient Roman families, the ancient patrician families. I got this idea because I have a translation of Juvenal's The 16 Satires, and he mentions a couple of names of noble families, and then apparently there's about 20 or so like patrician families that are well known. And I'm so sorry for all the noise you hear. I'm really having a difficult time recording simply because of all the extra noise I have to deal with. So I do apologize, my sincerest apologies if you do hear something else. I'll do my best to edit it out, but no promises. Also, I'll be linking the sources I use for this down in the description below, so feel free to check it out. And then I'll also leave some other links that will be able to take you so you can learn more about the Salii, at least from what I found on the internet. That is for free. But yeah, thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment. Hit the like button, do subscribe, hit the bell notification, share this with people who love Roman history. I hope to make this a series, so I gotta get started on that. Without further ado, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!